Hi, it is April 12th, 2017. I am just going over a few of the things that I wasn't able to touch on before this video, so I'm kind of going back so we can kind of keep you guys in the loop as to what happened. My last videos was me reading my victim impact statement, and that was to try to help me get confidence as I was getting ready to go to court. I was reading it 2 or 3 times a week just to get myself familiarized with it. I didn't want to read it by heart, but I also wanted to make eye contact with my ex-boyfriend, so he knew that I meant business. And I wasn't scared to stare at him or look him in the eye when I was talking to him on specific topics there in that statement. So we had court. He hired an attorney, and they gave him a plea deal sometime in late January of 5 years probation, and so that was his sentencing. He has 5 years probation. I am completely upset. I was completely upset when I got the information. When I got to court, I had no idea that this was a plea deal that they gave him. I was told that his plea deal was 5 years in prison, so that's how my letter was targeted for him going to jail for 5 years. But apparently there was some type of miscommunication through the lines, and when that information was relayed back to me, it was misconstrued and told to me as it was 5 years prison, and it was not. It was 5 years probation. So the day of our court hearing was February 15th, 2017, the day after Valentine's Day. And that was my first time seeing him for months, because he's been in jail for other charges, not from me, but for other charges that he had, when he went on this crazy rampage or whatever, midlife crisis, whatever the heck you want to call it. But he had other charges that he was arrested on, and he was held in jail. So, anywho, February 15th was our court date, and I was able to face him there. I was very upset. In the juror's room, I was with my mom, and I had my 2 victim advocates with me. I was very upset because I thought he was going to prison, and I would be able to move ahead and not have to worry about anything to deal with him anymore. And then I got this news that he got 5 years probation, so I was just devastated. I mean, it just rocked me to the core that he would be free. Who would let someone be free after what he did to me? I was so upset. There were so many questions as to why. But I went up into the courtroom. The judge read him all of his, sentencing information, all the pertinent information that was necessary for his sentencing and whatnot. And then the judge had asked if there was, the victim that wanted to speak. Now, when a person takes probation and there is a victim that's involved, judges do not usually let a victim speak during that time because they've taken a plea deal. But my victim advocates had asked if it would be appropriate for me to read my victim impact statement. It would help me have some closure, and the judge agreed. So I was able to read my victim impact statement. So the judge had asked me if I wanted to sit at the bench where I was sitting, which was the bench right in front of his parents, or to come up to the stand and read it. And I chose to come up to the stand to read, and I made eye contact with him, and I told him everything that I needed to. Everything that was in that letter. I had to change just a few pieces in there because he wasn't going to prison. I had to change a few things here and there, but everything else stayed the same. I made eye contact with him. My voice cracked. I cried the whole entire time, but I did it. And I did it with so much pride and confidence that I couldn't have done it any better. So, I was able to do that. he had started to cry at some point when I was reading to him. He did not want to make eye contact with me after I mentioned his daughter. After I mentioned his daughter, his whole demeanor changed. He didn't want to look at me. He had his jaw clenched really tightly. He was staring at me with these very squinty, disgusted eyes. His whole body language changed than how it was before when I took the stand. Because when I took the stand, he looked at me like, he still had this love or admiration towards me. He felt like he was wanting to come and hug me. I don't know. I just had this different feeling about him. But then after I brought up his daughter in my impact statement, his whole body language changed. He started to tense up really largely and puff up his shoulders. He had handcuffs and he was shackled on his legs. But he was starting to puff up and kind of, do manly man do. I don't know. Anyways, so that was done and over with. He's now on 5 years probation, and he has been on probation since that day, February 15th. It began that day. His probation is very strict, but I don't think it's strict enough. I wanted him in jail. Me and his ex-wife wanted him in jail and wanted him to stay in jail because I didn't want to have to deal with him coming by to my house or to my work or, following me, seeing me in my car with my kids, this whole ordeal. She didn't want to have to deal with him coming by and pestering or bothering their daughter. And I completely understand, but there's nothing we could have done to change it. That's just the way the cookie crumbled, and we just have to kind of deal with it. So, since that time, immediately after I read my statement, of course I left the courtroom and I just cried. My mom and I cried and cried and cried because it was so elating being able to read it finally to him, to tell him exactly how I was feeling, exactly all of my emotions and how I needed to have it read. I did it. For the following weeks after that, it was very difficult because a lot of people were questioning, how's everything going? How did the court go? Everybody here in the community knew what was going on. And I was very, very depressed. In my victim impact statement, I had said that I wouldn't fall in the depths of depression, but here those nasty depression emotions got me. So I'm starting to get emotional again. So it was very difficult, especially because that was not the sentencing that I had hoped for. So, weeks has already passed. I'm doing so much better. I now have a better outlook on life. Immediately after the sentencing, I had lost complete confidence. I didn't care about my appearance. I didn't care about, my kids. I was neglecting my kids at home. I wasn't giving them attention. It was very hard for me to stay focused at work. I started to just slide under a rock. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to see anybody. It was very difficult for me because I felt like I had been betrayed by the entire justice system. I did. I felt I was betrayed. So, I feel better now knowing that even though he is on probation, there's so many different ways and chances he can get caught, and I'm just waiting for him to get caught. And as rotten as that sounds, people may see this video and say that, I'm wishing the best of the worst for him, that I'm asking for him to get in trouble. No, I'm not. I mean, these kind of people, they're let off the hook for whatever reason, and I just hope that he eventually gets in trouble. He's got 5 years. 5 years to stay clean. I don't see it happening. I mean, I really don't. I know him a lot more than, well, at least I thought I did. I know him a lot more than a bunch of his friends do, and I feel that it's only a matter of time before he trips up and he gets in trouble for something or another. Right now, he's on the straight and narrow because he's fresh out of jail. Fresh out of county. He wants to stay on the straight and narrow. He's reporting to his probation officer and everything, doing everything that he's required to do as his probation. But it's so new that I'm waiting for him to mess up. And he's going to mess up. I can count on it that he's going to mess up. So anyways, I've gotten myself better. I've been really involved with my children. I've been involved in the domestic violence area, I guess is what you could call it. I have been trying to do a lot of things to help me keep my mind occupied and to keep me busy. It's very hard to keep yourself busy and focus on yourself when you've got kids that you have to focus on as well. So I would try to do things for me and my kids and I, that would keep us all together, where I can spend time with my kids and also do things to help me clear my mind and stay focused. So one of the things that my kids and I did, we went to this place called The Pottery in a town that's just 40 miles from here. Excuse me. And my kids love going because you get this this piece of pottery, different pieces you can choose, and then you paint it yourself. Excuse me. They put it into a kiln, and about 10 to 12 days later, you come back and you pick up your object, and it's painted just the way you did. It's glazed, everything, and then you use it as whatever you've used it for. So my kids decided to paint little figurines of little animals and such, and I decided to pick out a mug, and so I'm about to show you my mug. This is my mug. I painted this myself. If you don't know already, purple is the color for domestic violence. So I painted this purple ribbon on here. It's a dark purple, and then this here is a lavender, a very light lavender, and then I've got white stripes here, and then it's the same thing on the other side. And then, well, you can't see it because I got coffee in there, but the bottom of the mug, the first letter of my name, which is an R, and then Roman numerals for the day this happened. I wanted to keep this date so I remembered exactly who I was.